Mark chapter number 9. Mark chapter number 9. We'll read two verses together. That is verse number 23 and 24. Mark chapter number 9, verse number 23 and 24. We'll read together. 23 and 24 we'll read together. Jesus said unto him, If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. And read one more verse, we'll read together. Verse number 20, verse number 29. Verse number 29. And he said unto them, This kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. That's it.
Our gracious Lord and Father, thank you for this time that you have given for us to come to their presence, to pray for one another, and that's a great time of prayer that has enabled us to come to their presence with a great reverence, and that has shown your grace throughout the songs. Now, as we are going to meditate a word of God, help us to take each and every word from your scripture, God, and take heed of it, and also we may pray accordingly to God once again. Help us as we are meditating, let your word be sustained in every heart of ours, O God. Once again, committing myself and also church to your mighty presence. They are still who are on the way, but please bring them safe and sound to the church and also help them through the path. Once again, we are committing our time of sermon unto your mighty presence. We are asking this prayer in Jesus' most precious name. Amen.
Mark chapter number 9, we all know about this chapter. So it's the Lord's help. In seeing the Lord's help, a man came to Jesus and fell to his knees, weeping, and said, I believe, help my unbelief. So there is the greatest saying, there is the greatest word that comes from the mouth of the Father in verse number 24. I believe, help thou my unbelief. In verse number 24, we can see the man's request. It's a request of quite provoking, and also the man has a very confused state of mind. He had a very confused state of mind. So due to his confusion and provoking question, Jesus told him, if you believe, there is a question that lies in Jesus gave to the father is, if you believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And then the father replied to him is, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. This is a question, very question the father is asking Jesus Christ. When he used this word, help thou my unbelief, that means I believe but help my unbelief, which means he is having some confusion state of mind. Confusion in a sense not because of the faith, but because of his status, his condition. We always have lack of faith, or little faith that we have. Jesus often used the word little faith. But in this chapter we can see, oh unfaithless generation. He used that word in verse number 19. He used that verse in verse number 19. Oh faithless generation. When we see the context of this, Jesus had just returned from the Mount Transfiguration. When he came unto a large congregation, immediately surrounded the disciples, not the Jesus Christ, you understand, but the disciples, the congregation, or the surrounded people, they surrounded the disciples. They started arguing with the disciples. So immediately Jesus came to them and asked them, what is the problem? Jesus asked them, what is going on? People started arguing with the disciples. People started questioning the disciples. But Jesus intervened in verse number 14 and 15 when we see. Verse number 16, immediately, Jesus is questioning them. What's going on? After he questioned, the scribes or the people surrounded the disciples turned towards the Jesus Christ and started giving explanation. We brought sick, my son is sick, we brought to him the disciples, but they could not able to do anything. They could not able to heal him. So we are arguing. There's the greatest arguments is going on between disagreements or arguments going between disciples and the people. And Jesus himself, he intervened in the situation. Let me know what is happening here. And people turned towards Jesus and they reply to him, or they're giving explanation, they're giving a response to him. So what was exactly happened? They brought the sick person, the disciples, they could not able to do anything. And Jesus, for that reply immediately he answered by saying in verse number 19, he answered and said, "O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me." What is your question? These people, they ask a question. The question is, what is their problem? They was answered by a question. These people could not able to do anything. Your disciples could not able to do anything. And Jesus immediately answered them, "O faithless generation, O faithless generation." We need to question our faith each and every day. How strong we are in the Lord. How strong we are in the Lord. We need to question this question each and every day in our life. Because Jesus himself told to disciples, how long I can stay with you? And how long shall I suffer you? If Jesus asked this question even now, how long I will be with you? Because he wants you and me to, go on our own. Initially we can, help a child to ride a cycle. But not every time we will be with them for helping them. They have to go on their own. They have to ride the bicycle on their own. So Jesus is, giving such an example by saying, you people know how to go along with the inner faith. You people know how to go along with the faith. Because end of the day, it is your faith that Jesus is going to question. Luke chapter number 18, no need to see. When Son of Man come to this earth, he is going to see faith in you. So, the end of the day, faith is most matter. Faith is the matter in our life. It's the greatest question that we need to examine. It's the greatest question that we need to raise in each and every day of our life. Where is my faith in the Lord? Where is my faith in the Lord? By saying many things, when Jesus told, bring him unto me, he showed his compassion already. He showed his compassion already. But still there is a question. See in verse number 24. Verse number 24. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. Okay. Said unto him, okay, how long has since given to me? Oftentimes, okay, right. I think, verse number 19, he said, bring him unto me. Verse number 19, he said, bring him unto me, who that suffered the sick child. When they brought the child to Jesus Christ, straight away he showed his compassion. What is the compassion of Jesus Christ? Bring him unto me. When you are coming to Lord's presence, the greatest compassion of Jesus Christ, the greatest call of compassion that Jesus already, revealed there. And still people are asking the word compassion. See verse number 22. The Father told him, and oft times it has cast him into the fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if thou canst do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Jesus already showed his compassion by saying, bring him unto me. Bring him unto me. But still there is a question. Jesus, please show some compassion on us. Please help us. God's healing is already there. We could not able to recognize. When he's told, the sixth son or the father, the father of the sixth child, he told, bring him unto me. He already showed his compassion. He already revealed his, kindness, and he is ready to do the miracle to the child. He is ready to perform that, the healing to the child. But he's already shown his, compassion towards the father and also the child. But still, yet there is a question. Jesus, please show compassion on us and help us. Again, why this question is coming, to the Father. Even God gave everything to us. He gave church. He gave fellowship. He gave the bread and wine. He gave the fasting prayers. He gave weekly prayers. He gave cottage meetings. He gave camp ministries. He gave Bible studies. He gave Sunday school ministry. He gave everything. What not He gave for us. Each and every day, God is proving Himself in our life by showing His presence with us. Yet the greatest presence of the Lord revealed to you and me is by being in His presence. By being in His presence. Where 2 or 3 gathered in my name, I will be there. So He is always there with us when we gathered in His name. So don't question where is God. Ask yourself where you are in the faith. Where you are in the faith. And this father, he said he believed at the same time. He said, help thou my unbelief. Help thou my unbelief. He understood everything is possible to Jesus. Everything is possible to Jesus. When Jesus raised a question or a statement in verse number 23, Jesus said unto him, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. When he used this word, he understood everything is possible to Jesus, I know. But God, help me so that I will not get any unbelief within me. This is a very prayer that we need to pray each and every day, morning or evening or night, every time. God, help me with my unbeliefness. Today I am in a position, I am not talking about me. There are many gods around. Still they are asking, God help me with my unbelief. You know why? Even Paul said there is a throne that is within himself. There is something that which is within us, which is called the thoughts of our flesh. The very human nature within us. Seeking for help each and every time. So Jesus Himself, He knows the unbeliefness within you, and also He knows our unfaithfulness or the little faith that we have. So He yet answered the Father, if you still believe, God help me with my unbelief. And you know what Jesus replied to him? Verse number 25. Verse number 25. He replied to him by healing him. Verse number 25 and 26. He replied to him by his actions. His actions. When the father of the son asked Jesus Christ, help me with my unbelief, instead of replying him, he replied with the actions. Because the very faith, the very prayer of the father is very so genuine to Jesus Christ, very honest reply. Before it was a very provoking and also very confusing. But when Jesus told, if you think everything is possible through me, believe it. And Father replied, yes, I believe, help me not to have unbelief in my mind, in my thinking. And Jesus understood the extent of his faith. How much he is depending on Jesus Christ. How much you and me, how much the Father is surrendered himself to the Lord. End of the day, prayer is all about how much we are surrendering ourselves to the Lord. By questioning your faith, by examining yourself, by understanding your present and present condition, come to Lord's presence with a submitting heart, with a submitting mind. Think only Jesus can do. Think only He can do. Each and every time Even in my life, there's a very point only Jesus can do. This is the word each and every time I used to sing. I don't know how, there are very many Telugu songs I want to sing, There is a Sunday school song which I remember. I raised a in a Sunday school, singing Sunday school songs. Each and every time, even though I'm singing the song book, but Sunday school songs are still registered in my heart. Still registered in my heart. నా దేవుడు గొప్పవాడు, నా దేవుడు గొప్పవాడు, బలశాలి సూర్యుడు, నా దేవుడు చేయనిది ఏదీ లేదు. He cannot, there is nothing that impossible to God. There is nothing that impossible to God. Just believe in Him. Submit yourself. Submitting is the most important thing. Only when my children submit towards me, I can buy something for them. So when the father of the child express his desire, I believe, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. And yet, of course, he cried out and he said with the tears, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. And Jesus how replied? He did not reply with his mouth, but he replied with his actions. If you want to see God's action, and you want, so you and me need to submit ourselves to the Lord. That is the action that we need to give to the Lord. Our submission is the greatest action that we need to, give to the Lord. Of course, after seeing the great transfiguration in the mount, disciples came down and they could not able to perform the miracles. And Jesus answered, "What is happening here?" And the father of the child came to Jesus Christ and explained, "Your disciples could not able to do anything. What is happening here?" And then Jesus, bring him unto me. And then he came. They brought the child to Jesus Christ. And then Jesus replied, and Father replied, Jesus replied, and Father replied, and Jesus yet he replied with action. And immediately all the congregation they left, and what happened? You see verse number 28 and 26. 28 and 28. So 28 and 29. And when he came into the house, his disciples asked him privately. Again, what is the necessity of asking privately? Now, why? What is the necessity of asking privately? Ask within the congregation. Disciples are already, people understood disciples can't do anything. The insufficient, they lost the capability of doing the greatest miracle. Even after witnessing the great transfiguration, after witnessing many miracles of Jesus Christ and walking and following Him. And yet they came to Jesus and asked Him privately. You and me should have a private time with Jesus. Cornelius in Acts, when we see, he had individual prayer, he had family prayer life, and he had bringing God's servant to his house and pray. That's another life that he had. The fourth one is he had church, prayer. 4 kinds of prayer life, Cornelius' family had. One, he had individual prayer, family prayer, and calling God's servant to home and praying. And fourth thing is the congregational prayer. The last one, what he did is he conducted gospel meeting in his house, Cornelius. The 4 kinds of prayer, each and everything we need. But yet when disciples asked Jesus Christ privately. So you and me too should have a private time with God. So how many times you are praying in a day? Pastor, you have a lot of time, you are not doing any job, you are staying in home, you can pray multiple times. We are so busy morning, evening. Even I done a small job in Sharjah. Morning I used to pray, woke up and get ready and go to office. Afternoon there is 1 hour break time. How much time I did biryani? 15 minutes max. The rest of the time is there. Some people, other stuff, they used to go for having a cigarette and this and that, they used to come back again. So what I need to do sitting alone? Again, a short time of prayer. 5 minutes. Don't take half an hour, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Pray for your family, pray for Pelaka assembly. No need to mention all 300 names. Just mention, God remember, we are remembering our church, our services. This is everything. So, a short time of prayer. Always have a private time with Jesus. Always have a private time with Jesus. That is what God is encouraging. So anyway, when disciples came unto him asking privately, why could not we cast him out? So always have a question within yourself. You need to question, and then at the same time you need to answer your faith at the end of the day. And verse number 29, he replied, in Telugu and other versions, the word fasting was not written, but in King James version and other English version you can see. And he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing. By nothing? What are you saying? There is a pause, there is a comma. You see, there is a comma. In Telugu, in other language not there, but in English you see there is a comma, there is a pause. No, these kind of things can be easily done. This is easy, this is nothing. What you are saying, disciples? No need to ask privately, this is easy. What you are saying is just, how it is easy? It's easy, and immediately said, but by prayer and fasting. By prayer and fasting. The early days of my, when I came to accept Jesus Christ, every Saturday I used to do fasting. How long my fasting stays? Morning 6 o'clock to evening 6 o'clock. After 6 o'clock only I used to eat anything. If I skip in the morning, probably evening 6 o'clock I will start, morning 6 o'clock I will end. So the continuous, prayer time we need to develop in our day-to-day life. Personally, when I say fasting prayers are the most important thing in every Christian life, so that we can dedicate Him, and also it is our, we can show our commitment of our faith to the Jesus, to the Lord. How much we are obeying Him, how much we are committing Him, how much we are submitting ourselves, how much we are caring for Jesus, how much we want to be with Jesus. These kind of things can come forth by nothing, only by prayer and fasting. Whether it is a healing, whether it is a job, whether it is whatever circumstance, whatever financial situation that you are facing, only through prayer and fasting, only through prayer and fasting, these kind of things be possible. There are often many things which with small prayer also will be fulfilled, but there are many things which cannot be fulfilled with small short prayers. We need long prayers. I just want to close with a thought. Disciples are there on the seaside, and Jesus, he was there on the mountain. Jesus is there on the mountain. Disciples are on the sea. They were, they are on the boat. And later that evening, that early morning, after the long prayer on the mountain, Jesus came to disciples walking on the water. Walking on the water. The greatest miracle, walking on the water, to perform it, Jesus needed a whole night of prayer. He himself, he prayed whole night. He prayed. How long he prayed? He was on the mountain, disciples are on the sea. There's a lot of things are happening on the sea. On the waves are hitting the boat. Disciples are very worried, and Jesus' heart was there on the disciples. He prayed from the mountain. But the whole night of prayer, to perform a very great miracle, to walk on the water, to show the disciple that he can do many things. There's nothing impossible to God. But he stand a night prayer, on the mountain. So take a challenge to pray for one another. The greatest miracles are performed only by prayer and fasting. Keep this in your thought, and let's go for prayer. There will be prayer points that will be given to you, and we all will pray according to our numbering.
God, give us one more opportunity to come into your presence as a church, Lord, to gather in this manner to bring forth as a prayer and supplication as a pastoral prayer. We thank you and praise you, Lord, for God remembered us and given us his provision